Fighting between Sudan and South Sudan is intensifying along the disputed border between the two countries. Forces from both sides battled overnight near the town of Meiram, located inside Sudan's southern Kordofan state. South Sudan's army says 22 of its soldiers died in the fighting. Sudanese media report says the Sudan armed forces defeated the southern troops, who allegedly attacked to distract Sudanese forces trying to recapture the disputed Heglig region. South Sudan seized the Heglig area from Sudanese forces last week. The Heglig oil fields produce about half of Sudan's oil, and Khartoum has vowed to recapture the area. The ongoing violence raises fears the two countries might vault into full-scale war. Tanza, host of Voice of America's South Sudan In Focus radio program, says that the situation is extremely disconcerting.
There is a reason for concern because right now the two sides have drawn the line. And two sides are busy massing up its population for a return to war. And this is a bit serious because it has never happened since 2005. There have been disagreements. They have been disagreeing on lots of things. But this tone has never been heard before. The government in Sudan, when they say South Sudan is an enemy, to me that is for internal consumption because they are trying to rally the population behind them to justify their moves towards fighting. Because as it is now, there is a war fatigue in the two sides, either in South Sudan or in North Sudan. So they really need to rally their people. Like today in Juba, the SPLM Secretary General Pagana Moon was having a rally. They were asking the youth to stand up and defend their country. It looks like it has reached a stage where they are now looking for people who can fight the war. South Sudan is already at war with Sudan. They are in Heglig. There is fighting in Heglig. Today there are reports of fighting along Kir River, which that's the river that divides the two forces in Abyei. There are reports of fighting there already. So to me, it's not about whether Sudan or South Sudan is going to war. They are already at war with each other.
The UN Security Council is discussing imposing sanctions on the African neighbors if they do not stop the fighting. But Tanza says that any sanctions against the South would be unfair to a nation still in its infancy and already facing many difficult hurdles.
If the United Nations imposes sanctions on South Sudan, I would look at it like rubbing salt onto a wound that is existing there. Because as it is now, South Sudan has a lot of challenges to tackle. They have shut down the oil pipeline and they have no source of revenue. They have no source of income. Politically, there are silent voices of opposition within the country. It's relative when we say they are the aggressor. If you look at the situation, there has been several attacks by Sudan on targets in South Sudan for quite a long time. And the incident in Heglig, this is open to analysis by a lot of people, but to me, I look at it like they're doing it in self-defense because bombs were landing in Unity State, and Khartoum was saying they're bombing these places because South Sudan is supporting the rebels of the SPLA North. But these rebels of the SPLA North were not staying in Bentiu, so there were no points, there was no justification for bombing some of these territories in South Sudan. And that is the root cause of the fighting. South Sudan is saying they went there to protect their territory from being shelled by Khartoum, because as it was the case, Heglig was used as a point for bombing South Sudan.
Both countries are heavily dependent on oil, and lengthy fighting or full-blown war would likely cripple their economies.